Hello everyone, welcome back to our decision framework series. I like to talk about these subjects because on a daily basis we have to take decisions. Sometimes we have a project and we need to prioritize the user stories, the tasks, or even in our daily life we want to take a decision for a big project or endeavor like going to the gym and take decisions and what should I do, what should I need, what should I buy, and sometimes it's not easy to create let's say a top 10 or a top things that we really want, but there are others that we want, but maybe I can spare them at this time and things like that. And MoSCoW it's quite used for that. I remember that in some projects where I am involved, some of the external companies, they use this method to present us what is their proposal for a first version of a product. So, and we'll see that it's a very good method, and I think you should learn it and be part of your pocket tools when you have to take decisions. So let's see the details about this. So what is the MoSCoW framework? The MoSCoW method is a prioritization technique. It's a prioritization technique used in project management and product development, but of course you can use it, and I'll show you in your daily life if you want as well. It categorizes requirements into 4 groups. So you have the must-have, should have, could have, and won't have this time. It's not that we don't want it, we don't want it for this version, we don't want it at first. So, and this is you see, if you see this first letter here, are the ones that are capitalized here, that brings the name MoSCoW. That's the reason for the MoSCoW, and it's quite easy to remember it later. So let's see the details. So breakdown of the categories. So you have must-have are critical for delivery. Without it, the project fails. Meaning that it's something that without it, okay, there is no reason to continue. Even for a personal project, I want to do something. If I don't have this, okay, there is no reason for me to continue. That's the first ones that you should choose. These are the most important, and probably these will be the ones that you want to choose to impress your customer, or in your company, or maybe it's a project that we are doing and you say, okay, this should be there. Otherwise, there is no reason, there is no usefulness for this project. There are others that the second one, which is the should have, important but not vital, still valuable. We want to include them, but maybe due to some constraints, maybe money, resources, time, or something like that, it's not possible. But we try as much as we can to include them. So could have, desirable but less important, nice to have. It's quite common when you have discussions about projects that this is a nice to have. Okay, if you have time, great. If you don't, okay. It's not a big issue, at least at this time. And there is the ones that won't have. It's something that we know what we want, but we know that it's not possible at this time to include them for several reasons: money, resource, time, and any kind of constraint. You say, okay, it's not time. Or maybe we just want to show these first ones and maybe we have to change them later. So it's not, maybe this won't have, there are features that are somehow related with the must have and should have, and we need some approval and test them and make sure that, okay, it's stable, we can continue, and then we start to, let's say, move the won't have to could have or to should have or something like that. So remember, this is about priorities, okay? When to use MoSCoW during scope definition in Agile projects. In Agile projects, if you are doing refinement or planning and you want to make sure that, okay, what should we develop on this sprint, for instance, or what will be our next user stories or tasks? Okay, probably you want to go with the must-have. And then if you have time, you go to the should have, and so on. So you at the end of the day, you can use this as a kind of a label of, rather than have a priority like high, medium, you can have something like this, because it seems that it's the same thing, because you can always argue, okay, this is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 for priorities, but it's not that. Imagine that you are talking with someone like, let's say, a business person that takes decisions on your project, and it's easier to talk with a person and say, this is a must-have, and the person says, okay, it is really a must-have. I want that in that version. So it's quite easy to understand. It's not that it's level 1, there is some semantic behind it. That's why it's quite a nice method. Okay, for a minimal viable product planning, again, it is a minimal. You want to make sure that you have the minimal thing that can impress, that can create a big impression, or maybe you want to test some features to make sure that the product aligns with what you expect. So the MoSCoW is quite nice, because remember that you always start with the must and then with the should. Okay, prioritizing features in a product backlog. Again, the definition of agile projects, managing stakeholder expectations. It's quite easy to talk with them, and they know what they want. I want this in this version. I really want this. Without this, there is no contract. So the must and the should is quite nice to have. And so, and you can ask them, okay, what is the could have or the won't have? What can we remove for these first 2 or 3 versions? So you put all these tasks, for instance, on the won't have, and you agree them, and they understand this language: the must, the should, the could, and the won't. Okay. When working with tight deadlines or limited resource, this is a great method for that, because if you have tight deadlines, it means you have a time box for that. So you have to choose wisely which one should be. And the ones that you want to choose, again, it's the must and then the should. Okay, so let's say you have a project like get fit and healthy in 3 months, something that for me, I can speak for myself. I have some belly that I want to remove. So there are the must-haves or non-negotiable. If I want to start this project, I know that I have to exercise at least four times a week, at least for 45 minutes. I want to follow a whole food meal plan, no junk. It's difficult, but it's a must if I really want to remove some weight from my body. Sleep at least 7 hours a night. Drink 2 liters of water per day. Track progress weekly. I don't want to say, okay, I want to track my progress every day. Maybe this is a should have, not a must have. These are the things that, okay, without this, there is no reason for me to take this project. Otherwise, it will not work. If I just do the exercise and do 1 or 2 or 3 things from here, and I don't do the others, it will not work. And I know that will not work. So I have to commit to these 5. And this is, for me, these are the ones must have. Now we have the second priority. I say should have. Okay, I should do this, but it's not critical. If I don't do it, okay, I continue with the must have. Okay, so weekly meal prep on Sundays, join a gym or online fitness group, replace coffee with green tea. Maybe it's difficult. I should do that, but I really like coffee. My work, I need it in the morning. Maybe I'll not put on the must. I will just put on the should. 2 10 minutes of stretching or yoga daily. Reduce screen time after 9 p.m. Okay, it's these ones, the must have, I really have to do to them. These ones I can try. Okay, then I have could have, nice to include. Try intermittent fasting. It's not difficult. I'm used to eat. I go to work every day. I like to eat with my colleagues, something like that. But it's a nice to have. If I can, great. If I want, okay. Anyway, use a fitness smartwatch. Maybe I don't have money, so it was a nice to have, but I don't want to buy it now. Book 1 to 2 sessions a personal trainer. Again, I don't know. I have to go to a gym. I have to pay for it. Maybe in the 3rd or 4th version of my gym project, I will move this could have to a should have or a must have. Read a health-related book monthly if I have time. But this, again, it only works if you see these kind of tasks. Only works after I do this for 1, 2, or 3 weeks or months. Only after that, maybe I will start to look into read a book, keep a healthy habit journal, book 1 to 2 sessions of personal training, because I at this time I already know that I'm committed to that. And that's the same applies to a software project, and I will show you in a moment a software project. So won't have no strict calorie counting apps. I don't want to get paranoid with this, counting the calories, checking all my food, waiting or something like that. I don't want that. No expensive diet supplements. I don't want to buy additional things. I just want to cut some of the food, like junk food. No extreme challenges. I don't want to go nuts about this thing, at least at first. No expensive fitness equipment purchase. Maybe if I have to spend money, I go to a gym. I don't want to take it personal. Probably this one will be a task that probably will never be implemented, let's say like that, or maybe just after 1 year say, okay, I'm really committed to this. I really like my fitness, so now I will buy some equipment to my home and I will do it every day or something like that. So this concept can be applied also to computer. Let's say we have a software development and we want to implement some online learning platform. But we want to start with a minimal version, but it should be enough features to attract or to do a proof of concept. So in this case, of course, I need user login and authentication. I want to know who is learning and track his progress. So it's a must-have. Of course, I have to allow video upload and playback. These are the must-haves. Otherwise, there is no learning platform. So that's quite easy to understand. Now, after this is working and I really, okay, it's okay. Now I can start to think about as a second, okay, maybe I can add some course ratings in. So it's a should have. I should have that, but it's not important. I don't want at this time, maybe in a first or a second version, I don't want to rate the courses. So I first I want to attract people to see it, and then I will allow them to rate the things. But could have a dark mode. Okay, it's popular. Maybe I can include it's a could have, but only if I have time. Certificate printing for short, first and second version. I will not have time to this. There are a lot of things that I have to create PDFs. I have to develop a lot of back-end development to support the certificate printing. Make sure that probably I want to share these with LinkedIn and other kind of platforms, so people get really happy and say, I finished this course. I want everyone to know. Okay, this is a way to, let's say, prioritize this project. So usually this is just a flow of what we were saying. So create requirements, discuss with stakeholders, and again this is quite important because using the MoSCoW, because you will use the must, should, could, work, which are English words that are well understood by stakeholders, better than ABC or high, medium, low, or something like that, because at the end of the day, say, what do you mean by high? And it's better for you to say it must have. You go, oh, okay, must have. Yes, it must have. It's better than say high. Okay, it is critical for success. Yes, must have. Important but not vital. Should have. Nice to have. Yes, if it's nice to, not nice, so won't have. And we finalize our prioritized backlog, or the set of features, or the set of tasks, everything that we really need to start our project. So putting some colors these, so these are the ones must have. In red, video playback here as orange, which is should have, and progress tracking of our application if you want something to track the progress of in the learning system of the videos that we are seeing. So it's a could have. But the idea is that the must should be implemented on the first version. And then later probably these ones will be promoted to the must have, because after these ones are implemented, they are not must have anymore because they don't belong to the backlog. So these ones will be the rest that we have to choose, and probably we'll choose something like video playback as the must have and progress tracking as the should have and things like that. So you understand this is a kind of a ladder that it's well understood, and we can use it with the stakeholders to clean up until we have our product finished. Okay, so advantages of MoSCoW: clear categorization for all stakeholders. They understand this as a kind of a buckets, and some of them are more important than the others. Encourage negotiation and alignment. It's, yeah, if you think, okay, this is a must or it is a should, and there is some discussion about it, and people discuss, okay, now we want to make sure that this feature is there. So it's a must-have. But other people, but you don't have money, so I think we should, but not must. Maybe we should start with this one. So there is a kind of an English discussion using our prioritization system. Help focus on what really matters. Okay, easy to understand and apply. It's just English, common English, but it's quite well understood, and facilitates the MVP delivery, because after we define what is a must, we can start with our first version of our project. There are some challenges, of course, and pitfalls that we have to avoid, like overuse of must have can dilute the value. Sometimes you just, okay, must have. I saw a lot of projects, and when you start with some stakeholders, everything is a must have. So be careful when you talk with them, and you have to negotiate to say, okay, this is a must. A should doesn't mean that will not be a must in 2 months. There's something that we have to explain them, so we can negotiate and say, okay, the must should be minimal. Then we have the others ones. And at the end of the day, the Agile somehow fits quite well in this decision framework. Stakeholders may resist categorizing down. Always they want everything as a must. Needs discipline to stick with priorities. Yeah, sometimes it's easy to understand the system. You can even apply it. But at the end of the day, say, okay, I am redeveloping this. Maybe I can take one of the could have or should have and put as a must have. I will implement in this sprint. It's not a good idea. It will mess with the testing guys, the stakeholders, and it passes an image that we can do more than what was defined at first. So don't do it. Be disciplined. You decide this is a must. Just go with the must. Resist to try to include the others. Okay, can overlook longer term strategic needs. Yeah, because we have the must. Maybe you are putting something down that strategically will be very important in months, but it will take time until it goes to the top, to the must have. Sometimes you have to, but at the end of the day, just a discussion with stakeholders. If you involve everyone and you have let's say a very intellectual honesty with them, saying, okay, when I say this is that, okay, we are very open to what they say and very receptive and discuss with them clearly everything. Maybe you can detect some of the things that they don't seem a must have, but they should start now as a must have, maybe part of it, so we don't create problems related with long-term strategic needs. So tips for applying MoSCoW: align with business goals first, like every project, of course. Limit musts to essentials on, this is the most important, otherwise there is no reason to use this method. Revisit categories at each planning cycle, create cycles, and of course the must have it's already implemented or are already being done. So let's put others, let's cycle these and take some of the tasks down and try to prioritize them or promote them to better places. Encourage stakeholder collaboration. That's fundamental. Otherwise, the must, the should, it's, yeah, the words they are already saying, it's about discussion and negotiation. It's not prioritization for just for one person and two people. Because if it's just one or two persons, you don't need this method. We just, okay, prioritize 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's start in this version. Let's choose these ones and let's go with them. And then for the second version, we'll do everything. But when you have a real project with business people, management people, you want to discuss with them. Okay, so that's one of the reasons you should encourage as possible the stakeholder collaboration and combine with time boxing for agile planning. Time boxing is quite useful because it avoids sometimes we have start to discuss in planning a lot of things, and at some point you start to go too deep on the conversation. And one way to avoid that is just do a time box. Okay, you have a feature and say, okay, let's vote on this. Let's take 5 minutes, everyone. So it's a must-have or not? And the people say, I think it's a must-have. I think it's a should-have or something like that. At the end of the day, okay, you can do a democratic thing and say, okay, the majority said it's a must-have, so let's go with the must-have, and we accept, for instance, 7 of them, 7 must-haves. Of course, depends of the time and things like that, but as a simple approach, you can do something like this. Time box, it's always a good idea to avoid too much deep planning or discussion about subjects, and at the end of the day, there probably one that was the most important, that it will be the last one, and it will have 5 or 10 minutes, and sometimes you take decisions that we don't want to take because we only took them for when we had only 5 or 10 minutes. There are some issues with that. Be careful with that. And final thoughts: the MoSCoW method helps make hard choice easier. Okay, it's simple but powerful when used with discipline. Use it to focus, because that's the one of the main reasons. Avoid scope creep. Scope creep has just too many features. Don't put too much scope there. Just go to this, understand what is the must, the should, the could, and the want, and stick with it as much as you can. And one of the reasons that you want to use it is deliver value early, because the musts, you expect to be the most important features that you want in your product, or the most important tasks or habits that you want to create for your personal life. So thank you for watching this video. I hope this is useful for you. It's useful for me. I use it on my daily basis. I work in projects with third-party companies that they use this method when they are selling to us ideas or plans about projects that we are buying from them.